topic here is very interesting in terms of, how is the line between social influencer, which is actually digital media in that manner, and commerce really blurring, between each other. So I think we all were debating, is it really the case, or is it just we are feeling that yes, it is blurring? So I think I just open the session quickly with a quick round of literally voting in terms of how many of you, Binda, Ashish, Ajit, how many of you really think that it is really blurring, or you think it is so tight, or does it work in silos?
Thanks. It is difficult, right? Meaning, look at it 20 years back when you wanted to do some advertising, TV karlo, radio karlo, it was more simpler, right? But now when you come to it, the positioning of digital and digital media, I think, still is not established when it comes to the CXO, CMO level. Okay, and thus it becomes a little blurred. Okay, you want to make a digital brand first, so there's a lot of brand awareness top of the funnel. The e-commerce wants to sell. Okay, so there's that aspect also. The consumer is still the same, right? Okay, and it is becoming more and more difficult to thus justify that kind of ROI. Okay, and on top of that also support the total brand building for a B2B company who's driving so much of purpose, sustainability. Right? It is becoming difficult, and I think it will also become a challenge, and which is why you will keep on seeing the senior level marketers going back to the devil they know the best, which is the traditional advertising, right? Okay. So somewhere I think the industry also needs to come together to position digital media much more strongly, maybe as performance first, because that's what it was intended to be, and then potentially say that yes, we can drive that brand, okay, but display of using digital towards commerce, towards brand building, towards towards social, it is difficult, there's no doubt about it.
Thanks, Taran. I couldn't agree more. In fact, in the last couple of years, so many things have been changing. Where do you draw the line? And especially in the category that I work in, it's not just, customers for us, it's fans. Their engagement level is so high, they're so passionate about the brand. So there's a thin line because they themselves are content creator. They are the biggest advocates that we have. Similarly, things like, when we launched this year itself, NFTs, utility-based NFTs. So, if you call it a loyalty program, or do you call it, something, that is way beyond, do you call it e-commerce, There is only a thin line between it. And the utility-based NFT is very unique because you're not just buying image or any particular asset, but it's unlocking unique experiences which money can't buy. So the lines are completely blurring, and the way you decide upon which medium to put your attention and your media monies on has become way more complex.
So I think, Taran, we've almost covered everything. But from a point of view of a consumer, there is no line. We don't see that as a line if you're talking about as a consumer. You're doing your emails with that, you're just shifting it to one of the social media platform, putting it a DM, buying something out of Insta shops. So all of those things, we ourselves don't put those blurs into that. Our movement is just very, very fluid. And that's what, as a brand also, we should also evaluate. And if there are certain brands, those boundaries being created, I think we should all decide. But yes, it's a very difficult job for a brand manager then to figure out his or her life in terms of how I manage them. Definitely true.
I think talking about, how do you really manage brand managers' life and understanding this better, I think there is a lot of programmatic stocking, so to say, in digital, right? Because there is digital media that is activated, and there's e-com campaign which is activated at the same time. And there is a lot of wastage, or maybe an overlap that we can see in digital. So maybe I want to request maybe Binda, what do you think, how do you really manage wastage within the organization in terms of commerce spending and digital media, and how do you really ensure that you're reaching the right consumer with the right frequency and not having that wastage in your campaigns?
Particularly for me, because IPL, or we do have 4 teams across different time in the year. But typically the cricket leagues, the way they are structured, are for 2 months or 1 month. So the time is very less. So if I even have a frequency of 5 or 7, actually the wastage, chances of wastage is much lesser for us. But saying that, what we've started doing from this year itself, we've launched this new app called Night Club. So that actually helps us create the first party data, very rich first party data. And again, the purpose of it is not for just increasing transaction by merchandise or ticket sales, but it's more to understand our consumer, their interest, and to be able to target them with the right kind of product offering better.
What about you, Atin?
So, in B2B, we're not that advanced that we've reached wastage and we can calculate it and figure it out, right? But remember, B2B is a big intent game, okay? I need my customers to keep on engaging with my ad so that I can get those signals, so that I can then have my sales guys go without the sales guy coming and screaming at me, bekar customer ne kuch nahi kar raha. So we actually start using that a lot from point of view of intent signal. Now, the challenge is, how do you capture those kind of intent signals relevantly and then pass it on to the sales guy in the right geography for the right business? Okay, you're talking about a company which is in 72 countries, 13 businesses. It becomes difficult, right? So for me, overlap is not such a big problem, but definitely to figure out if even a customer is clicking on an ad again and again and again, are those the right intent signals for which I can then figure out when to put him in my customer journey, where is he at that part, and what to then show him to get that final conversion, which is engagement, again, not sales.
In your case, because you said B2B, then it is basically enterprises who are more engaging with you, or companies which are more engaging with you rather than customers, right? We were talking 50% of your actually sales is commerce, right? Which is very surprising, because we were thinking that, how can it be 50%? But it's a huge number, right? So how do you really manage that in terms of understanding that the person who's actually engaging with me, what is the cost that you're paying every time the person is coming to your, let's say, commerce, right? How do you reduce the cost in that manner? If it is the same, or is it, are you collecting data in any way in terms of understanding, is it the same company, or is it a different, or is it the same sector? How do you target, how do you segregate data?
Yeah, so we definitely, when it comes to commerce, so when we do our commerce, we do it in 3 platforms, right? One is definitely where we go to our retailers, okay? So we are a 70% distributor business, it's a huge retailer market, especially in the Europe regions, right? These retailers become difficult because again, data sharing is not happening, we're getting to partnerships, etc. Okay. Then you have your whole Amazon, etc., Mercado Libre, etc., right? That's where we start doing a lot of ads, etc., try to figure it out. When it comes to our own our E3, which is our own web shop, which we have 30 of them right now, that's where the whole e-commerce bit is, where we're capturing data, we're then cross-selling. But what happens is that once we understand that a retailer is coming once or twice, then we go into almost like a B2B tech customer success manager model, right? Okay, where we then start calling that person and say that, hey, you can reach out to your customer success manager. So we transcend from e-commerce buying to a more direct approach and just try to cut the distributor as much as possible, right? Not a big problem for us, because if more customers are coming, more data is coming for us, okay? We've not reached that level, okay, because we need that kind of intense signals, we need people to come, and we are not a one-time purchase. People will come again and again and again. So it becomes very difficult to say whether it's wastage or person is just interested to see what's the cat drawing, okay, whether it will fit in my facility or something like that.
I think, Dr. Ashish, more for you, it's a very different category, right? Healthcare, and more sensitive, right? So how do you really manage what you really sell? And we were talking diagnosis is the code for commerce in the healthcare industry. How do you understand that? How to control wastage between digital media spending that you're doing and understanding what do you have to really spend on commerce, and how do you control the frequency in both?
See, the best for any brand is the moment of truth. You're right there, you're not spending much. Even double, basically one more frequency is kind of treated in media language as a wastage. But honestly, one, to find out when you're gonna fall ill is something that is very, very hard for anyone to commit to, right? Or even prevent to. Even tell, say tomorrow I'm not gonna get up and say, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna go and visit a hospital. That never happens. But tomorrow I'm going to go buy a car, that happens. So from that point of view, if you are talking about something where you are making a payment when you are not happy about making that payment, you're not in the right state of mind, and then you can't build loyalties for hospitals. That's the biggest issue with the category. Now in that category, the idea of you being healthy, I think there is no wastage in the frequency, that you can keep running. But yes, everyone has a limited set of budgets. And if you talk to Unilevers of the world, they will also say, I have a limited budget. With there, you also understand that you would also must have been having those fights. But you can still work out understanding the kind of impressions that are being served at each user level. So basically, your own utilization can become your core thought point on how much you are ready to be exposed to, and then also take a cognizant fact of how many competitors are there in terms of the market making the noise. And then you play your SOV game. But really to say that is 9 a wastage to a 5 a wastage, we are still not there in terms of having a know-how. So it's still an open market in terms of talking more about not selling you a diagnosis package. Okay, take a 4,999 CT angio, right? But if I am telling you again and again what is the benefit of you taking care of your heart, that's something I think requires no frequency.
You're saying that there's no frequency capping, so to say, which is required in the case of healthcare,
Yeah.
because you don't know where exactly you may want to cut off because you don't know where the person needs. Is that what it is?
It's not like my toothpaste bar is about to finish, I need to buy another, or I have a set time frame of buying products for myself. Now, mobile phones don't have more than 18 months of shelf life, so I know that I will buy. Or when there is a new thing that is launched. With health, you can't do. I don't know when I'm gonna fail.
The other way of also doing it, especially in B2B, is that you'll see a lot of traditional B2B also now not advertising and looking at marketing by business but by customer type. The moment you start creating those cohorts and doing your activities, experience according to that, right, suddenly then you can then manage your spends. For example, if I'm targeting a CEO, I'll not show him my e-commerce ad, it's ridiculous, right? I'll show him more thought leadership. Okay? But electricians, I'll keep on showing that completely, right? Okay, so that's also somewhere where we're trying to do, okay, this cohort, commerce, this cohort, thought leadership, this cohort, engagement, article which can help him become better at work, right? This cohort, webinar series, okay? We're trying and testing that also and seeing what is working, etc. Right? I think that's also one way where you can really start segregating and ensuring that overlap doesn't happen and wastage that way, especially in digital media and commerce.
So I think coming to my next question for Binda, how do you really ensure that the brand promise is delivered, right? Without too much overstocking to the consumer, right? Because I think too much stocking also to the consumer across platforms can be an irritant, right? Especially in a category like yours where it's about building more fans and having multiple touch points, right? So how do you really ensure the brand promise is committed and delivered?
So the good thing about sports again and fans is there's never enough for them, and they are emotional, they're passionate about the team that they are following. They'll root for you, and of course, if they're upset, they'll troll you too. The dark side of it is there too. But since, Knight Riders, it's a unique position because we have 4 teams in 4 different countries. In fact, 5 teams in Caribbean, we have a women's team too. So what's important for us is to have a very clear brand mandate. What does the brand stand for? Very clear brand guidelines. We work with multiple partners, multiple agencies. There are social media teams. There are, paid campaign creatives which are being developed by a separate team altogether. Influencers we work with. So it's very clear to have a very clear guideline that we set up right at the beginning. And even for our agencies, we set very clear KPIs. And sometimes it means, if engagement is one of the KPI and there's a certain level that's set for the season, and if the agency is recommending some kind of content that doesn't kind of goes with what our brand mandate is, letting go of it. It's okay if the engagement level is low, and it's important to put down your foot and say no, this doesn't go with the brand, however effective it might be in social media.
On the same question, Atin, just love to hear your thoughts as well.
For us, a brand promise starts on the products, okay? We are the world's most sustainable company, okay? Our products are the potential of actually really getting this decarbonization challenge going, right? You need to get more electrical and you need to get more digital, right? Okay. I think that's where, for us at least, the brand promise starts completely, right? Okay. What we do with the customers, okay, how the customers can get more sustainable, right? Okay. Now, it's very funny because the brand promise, right, you keep on saying things like green, eco, etc., and everything. Okay, and I was just talking to somebody, okay, and we're sitting in India, we're pretty okay using these terms. It's becoming even more difficult to now give your messaging of brand promise because there are countries like Nordics come back and saying, you can't use green, you can't use eco, you can't use offset. Think about a global company like us who does millions of content every day, which uses this completely and saying that, hey, I'm going to find you to do that, right? Okay. So at the end of the brand promise needs to come from the product also. Okay. Somewhere you need to bake in that in your product. Okay. And if it's not, then it's only a marketing line, which, to be honest, 40% of the companies are now doing it, considering everything is about brand promise now. It won't last very long. Okay? It has to be baked into the product. It has to be baked into your operations. Okay, and that's what the consumer also says.
I think on that, I just had this question in my mind to Dr. Ashish more from a healthcare perspective. And when you say really have to be tough on delivering the brand promise, yours is a category where, if a promise is made in terms of good health, you come to the hospital and we'll ensure good diagnosis, good health, but you really have so much control over it. You're not really selling a product like in FMCG. For me, for example, we're selling salt, pulses, tea, coffee, but you're not selling that. The end product is actually the doctor interaction and what he finally gives back to the patient, right? So how do you really control and ensure that the brand promise overall of the hospital, of healthcare, gets stitched in here with what your digital initiatives are?
So, Indian standards of medical or clinical practices are still very vague and open. But to be honest, about our as a brand, we follow a lot of UK guidelines because they are very well defined. And we are one of the very few hospital chains in India which follow that model and do their routine test cases as well. And we are one of the highest in terms of, while what Atin was also saying, that your product delivers the promise. And we deliver and we mark that check. So your diagnosis cannot be wrong by just more than 0.001%. And you do those fact checks every month. Now, going out in terms of what brand is communicating, of course, we don't, just like insurance sector, you don't talk like that. When you come to us, we'll take care of you in terms of solving your problem and making you fit better, or you won't require a second surgery or a follow-up surgery. Yeah, from a brand outside point of view, we also don't do that. But internally, when we are talking about delivering our services, we keep a very strong check.
I mean, on that, when you say you keep a strong check, what happens when you have sales pressure, right? In the healthcare industry, you have a sales pressure to deliver in a hospital. How do you really manage that then?
Yes, so we have 180 people on ground in terms of running those sales through referral channels. So I'll take you 2 extra seconds on this. The category over the years has been built around doctors. Whatever we keep saying that we are a patient-centric industry, we are a patient-centric, say, one of our hospitals as well, but still the information and the transparency for the patient is still very low. And just like how retailers makes a lot of sense for Atin's business, for us, doctors are the key decision makers in a patient's life. Because I'm not gonna stand up tomorrow and say, okay, I need a CABG to be done on my heart tomorrow morning, until and unless there is an input that comes from a doctor too. But yes, very proud to say that we are the only hospital that doesn't pay any reference. in India, and by that I mean the reference to doctors sending a patient which cannot be taken care at their facilities, or it's a general practitioner who sends for a super specialty case where we don't entertain any kind of referrals. We are only proud of the clinical advancement and delivery of our clinicians is what we get it through. And there is no way, because of the pressures, we're going to offer you 10% and please send the patient. That is something as a policy that came in from Feb last year, and it's going well up till now. And I think there are a lot of people, I think Binda is also one of the shareholders. She's trading in Narayana Health. Well, it's doing pretty decent for us.
What about sales pressure for Binda? I think how do you manage that with so much of, there is obviously a A&P spend that you are fixed with, right? And you have a merchandise to spend to really sell, right? And you have a fan following. So how do you really ensure that how do you segregate your initiatives in each one of them, right?
So for us, the revenue model works in a very different way. One of the main ways, of course, ticket sales from the games itself, then licensing and merchandising. Merchandise business in India overall is at a nascent stage. We have multiple partners that we work with. And then, of course, the third part is sponsorship and partnerships itself. So, of course, there's always a target to gun for. Being in IPL and in Kolkata Knight Riders, it's not that much of a challenge because the position it's in. But with the different leagues, especially the newer leagues, there is Major League Cricket which is coming up, ILT20, which is the league which is started in UAE. These are new ones, and some of these markets, like in US, other than of course the Indian and the subcontinental diaspora which loves cricket, and there is a nostalgic connect for them to come and watch cricket in stadium. It is a big challenge to fill up a stadium, especially in UAE and in US. So there is always a target that's looming on your head, but there is a gestation period also. To grow a sport or any business for that matter, ground up, there is a certain gestation period you set, 3 to 5 years, and there is a certain growth path that you set well in advance. So you're prepared, this is how the growth path is going to be. It doesn't come as a shock to you. It's important to manage the expectations well in advance and have a very clear P&L in the short and the long run too.
So I think the other thing is that now with an era where Amazon, which is earlier which is the e-com platform, and now also got into Prime, music, so many things, right? They're getting into. There is this thing around shoppable videos, shoppable banners, which are being served. Right? The lines are really blurring. From your digital media spend perspective, how do you spend your money in terms of banners or shoppable videos in that manner, or on commerce? How do you decide what is the segregation of, what is the split that you follow? Is it some principle that you have, or is it some ratio that is fixed within the organization? Maybe Atin, you want to give a shot on that?
The politically correct answer is it depends, but it really does depend, right? For us, basically the digital media, the brand side, is primarily driven by the CMO, where we are driving a lot from a point of view brand, considering that we're getting to more positioning, and the commerce side is driven more by business, right? Okay, so it also depends that, meaning it again comes down to sales targets, like where we want to push more stuff, things are not getting sold, etc., and that's why you see a lot of spend on commerce completely, right? But I don't think there's any ratio, okay? And I think for us, that is also definitely not a challenge, because it's not that one team is handling that, with different marketing managers doing it, etc. What we have is very strong governance in place, which shows how you can do it and what you can do completely. So unlike a B2C model or D2C model, at least in B2B, we don't have these challenges, and to be honest, I don't think anybody has a ratio or any scientific way of figuring out what to put where completely. It really depends upon the priorities also, right? Look at pre-COVID, how many of you spent on commerce, right? It's COVID where commerce spend have gone up completely. And people are now questioning it and also going back and saying that, is the uptake still happening or not? So it also really depends on the business cycle and what's happening in the market.
So for me, I actually look at it in a very different way. We are privileged to have a huge social media following, about 40 million across all platforms, across teams. So, it's not about just paying on ad campaigns. For me, it's also important to build my own IPs and my own properties where I can have first party data. So I would rather invest, if I have a certain marketing budget, I would invest in creating an IP which will connect with my fans and which will be, which I can grow year on year and eventually even monetize it. So there's always a call. It's not just about, it's not linear. If I'm going to spend on Amazon and it's going to exactly, it might, in short term, of course, it's very easy to look at the ROI. You can see the transactions happening, even similarly on Book My Show for my ticket sales. But I would rather look at a more long-term picture where I'll build my own assets and my own IPs and develop that further.
Dr. Ashish?
Again, same. Basically, the definitions comes to part how much big size of revenue that brings in. So commerce to preventive or at least till a booking level take care of our 20% of the business, and that's a monthly revenue. So basis that is what we define our budgets split as well. It's more of a rationale of revenue breakups, and that is how you spend the money.
I think we had this session, interesting session in the morning in terms of, the kind of teams we need in digital. And from there, the next question, my next question comes in where within your organization, how is the teams divided? So there is an e-com team and there is a digital media team, right? And how much are they synced up, right, to really get the best synergies? Because a lot of companies right now, I see that there are different silos which get created, and Binda and I were discussing in a smaller setup, it may be lesser, but how is it that right now, how do you really understand the consumer funnel better? Because the two teams are separate, right? Or if they're same, then how do you manage that? Atin?
So it's a holy grail, right, to manage that. Okay, so how do we do that at a larger level? Okay, there are three things which comes at least from a global point of view, and you guys need to realize I'll come from not only a B2B aspect but from also global aspect, right? How do you manage 72 countries, 13 businesses? Okay, one is definitely a technology bit. Okay, you need to get a CDP in place. Okay, ensure that you have the right cohorts, you're targeting well, etc. Okay, so that works completely. But this cannot be driven if, for example, we are now really questioning our media vehicles. We are really now going in the walled garden and says, do we really need to get out from here? Do we really need to explore other stuff? Okay, because that also then just curtails and make it more easier to the third part, which is strong governance and audit. Okay, you cannot run a multi-billion-dollar businesses with so many various verticals till the time you don't have a governance and you don't have a strong audit or a danda which comes and says this can be done and not done. Okay, it sounds crappy, but that's the way it is, right? That's one part of it. The other part also, and I'm just going to go back to the last question, Tarun, is that I think the problem also lies because that somewhere commerce, digital media has been put as a business vertical, whereas your digital media is a marcom vertical. I like to challenge that and say, why can't the commerce digital media also be part of the marketing and thus work as a centralized unit? Now,
Absolutely agree with that.
yeah, meaning I understand the whole part that yeah, it's very important to be part of the business, there's a profitability ROS, but give that chance for a marketeer, which you call as a marcom or a field marketing, to come and deliver that kind of ROI, okay? And I think that's where a lot of challenges will also be. So we need to relook at this organizational model where a commerce guy will say, "मैं अपना खुद का performance marketer रखूँगा." No, it has to be the CMO, it has to run in a single unified function, right?
So we have something called as a martech team, where it runs centrally, where you have the product stack as well, tech stack as well, at the mercy of the marketing team in terms of what are the products to be built, which is otherwise absolutely opposite. We are also not only commerce or not only driving the offline business, we are adding the ops part to it as well. So say for instance, if I am booking an appointment tomorrow, people get lost at a hospital. So there should be a key for person, a green channel journey where you can actually know Ashish is coming. Now I have to take care of Ashish. So it's very unheard of that you're bringing ops into marketing structure, but that is what our intention is, and to service basically to service better. It's
Yeah, ultimately the consumer doesn't know that, this is commerce and this is digital media. Consumer is consumer, right? He's coming and he's looking for the right output. Binda?
Yeah. So we work in a hub and spoke model. There is, of course, the hub that operates out of India, and then there are multiple teams. Hello? Yeah. Then there are teams across, wherever we are present in each of the markets. So it's very important, and each of our roles overlap individually. So very important for everyone to collaborate and to be on top of what the other person is doing, and also about sports, because it's a live action thing, live sports especially. Everything has to happen like like one is passing the baton to another, and it has to move very smoothly. So everything's happening in real time. So very important to collaborate. So we use different kind of apps, so that everyone is in sync. Different kind of productivity apps that everyone is in sync with, to be aware of, if anything is going missing and what everyone else in the team is up to.
I think we had a lot of rich discussion around, how teams have to be built in the companies, and how do you avoid wastage between digital media, commerce. I think I just do a quick fire round with all of you. What comes to your mind? Just give me one word. I think when I say digital, don't say AI.
Revenue.
Binda.
Content.
power.
Thank you. Thank you. I think thanks for your time and for a wonderful session, insightful session. Thank you. Time up.